Hello. The next one I'm going to read is Rapunzel, and I know you both like this one because we've read it several times, and I shall read it to you now, so you've got it forever, if I can turn the pages. Once upon a time, in a faraway land, a husband and wife were expecting a baby. One day the wife was looking out of the window at the garden next door. She saw lettuce called Rapunzel growing in a patch. Suddenly she wanted some. "My dear husband," she said, "I simply must have some of that delicious-looking lettuce from that garden." "That garden belongs to a witch," whispered the husband. "She is said to be the most fearsome witch in all the land. But if you want some of her Rapunzel, then I will get it for you." There we are. That night, the husband climbed over the wall into the witch's garden and picked some lettuce. But just as he was about to leave, the witch appeared. "Madam," the husband stammered, "my wife is expecting a baby and she craves this Rapunzel lettuce." "I will let you have some of my lettuce, which I have planted and which I have tended with such care," the witch replied, "but I want something in return. When the child is born, you will give it to me." The husband agreed, never dreaming that the witch was serious. That's not a very nice thing to do, is it? A few months later, a beautiful baby girl was born. "What shall we name her?" the new mother asked as she and her husband admired their daughter. The new father smiled down at the baby. "We shall call her Rapunzel, after the lettuce that you wanted so badly." Suddenly, the witch appeared at the window. "She is mine. Remember your promise," the witch said to the father. Then the witch snatched the child and disappeared. Rapunzel grew to be beautiful and kind. She had long golden hair and an enchanting voice, but she was lonely. The witch was afraid someone would take Rapunzel from her, so she locked the girl in a high tower with only sewing to keep her busy. Rapunzel could see the world through her window, but she could not leave the tower. The only way into the tower was through the window, and when the witch wanted to visit Rapunzel, she stood at the bottom of the tower and called, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair to me." Rapunzel would hang her long plait out of the window, and the witch would climb up. Every day and every night the witch called out to her, and every day and every night Rapunzel let down her hair, and so it was that the years passed and Rapunzel only ever saw the witch. There she is sewing in her tower, and there's the witch climbing her hair. Rapunzel was singing at her window one night when a handsome prince happened to ride by. The prince heard Rapunzel's beautiful voice and saw her at the window of the tower. As he continued on his way, the prince couldn't stop thinking about the lovely young woman in the window. He began to ride by the tower every evening to catch a glimpse of her. One night, the prince heard the witch call to Rapunzel, and he watched in amazement as the old woman climbed up Rapunzel's hair. The prince visited the tower for the next 3 nights. Each time he heard the witch call out the same words. On the 4th day, the prince returned in the afternoon. He waited until the witch had climbed back down Rapunzel's hair and disappeared. Then he stood under the window and called up, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair to me." At first Rapunzel was frightened. She did not recognize the voice calling up to her. When she looked out of the window, she saw the handsome prince below. The prince told her that he was a friend, and Rapunzel agreed to let him up. Rapunzel and the prince had a lovely time, talking and laughing. Rapunzel had never spoken to anyone except the witch before. The prince returned to the tower often. Each time he waited until the witch had gone and then called up to Rapunzel to let down her hair. Day after day, the prince and Rapunzel talked and laughed. Very soon they had fallen in love. The prince told Rapunzel that he wanted to take her out of the tower, and the two began to plan her escape. Finally, the day came for the prince to free Rapunzel, but just as they were preparing to leave the tower, they heard a voice below. There they are, falling in love together. It's Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse, isn't it? Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair to me, the witch called from the ground. She must not find you here, Rapunzel told the prince. But there was nowhere for him to hide. Rapunzel had no choice. She had to let the witch into the tower. When the witch saw the prince, she flew into a rage. You'll not visit my Rapunzel again, she shrieked. She grabbed some scissors and cut off Rapunzel's hair. Now go, the witch shouted at the prince, and with a mighty shove she pushed him out of the window. Oops. There he goes. Poor Rapunzel. No, please, cried Rapunzel as the prince fell. She ran to the window and leaned out so far that she tumbled out of the tower too. Luckily, Rapunzel and the prince landed in some soft bushes, and they were not hurt. As they looked at each other, the two started to laugh. Without Rapunzel's hair, the witch was the one stuck in the tower. The prince helped Rapunzel to her feet. Then he gently led her to his horse and helped her climb on. He jumped onto his horse behind her, and the two quickly rode off, leaving the witch behind for good. The prince had discovered who Rapunzel's parents were. He took her to them. They had missed their daughter terribly all these years and were thrilled to have her back. The prince left Rapunzel with her family. They had a lot of catching up to do, but he came by to visit her every day. Not long after that, Rapunzel and the prince were married. There was great happiness throughout the land. Rapunzel planted a beautiful garden near the castle, where she grew lots of the delicious lettuce after which she had been named, and the witch spent the rest of her life locked up in the tower. Rapunzel and her prince lived happily ever after. There we are, the end. And that's the end of the story for today. I'll send this one on to you both. Bye-bye for now.